Okay, let's dive right into this explainer because today we're taking something that literally stresses out millions of people and we are completely flipping the script. We're stripping away all that intimidating, overly complicated financial jargon and we're going to treat your money like what it really is, a game. And just like any game, you absolutely do not need to be a genius to win. You really just need to learn the rules. To do that, we're going to conquer 5 core levels today: the cost of civilization, behind the bank vault, invisible forces and resets, mastering the trust algorithm, and finally, time, the ultimate asset. By the end of this, you can stop getting played by the system and actually start building your own wealth. So, level 1, the cost of civilization. Let's start things off with a quick reality check about where your hard-earned cash actually goes before it even reaches your pocket. Picture this. You've just had a brutal, exhausting month at work, slaving away flipping burgers. You're lying in bed totally wiped out when you get that email notification. It says you've officially been paid $2,000 for your time. You're feeling pretty good about it, right? But then you log into your bank account and you see this brutal number staring back at you, $1,456. Where on earth did the rest of it go? Well, you've just been hit by the invisible, non-negotiable forces of taxes. And society basically expects you to just nod and say thank you. What's really happening here is you're paying what we call the cost of civilization. This chunk of money goes to funding the roads we drive on, the schools in your neighborhood, and, making sure your favorite late-night taco truck isn't infested with rats. You've got income tax on what you make, sales tax on what you spend, and capital gains tax on what your investments make. Plus, you have Social Security, which is essentially the government forcing you to save for retirement, and Medicare to support the elderly. Now, the ironically funny part about all these slices being taken out of your pie, when tax season rolls around, the government already knows exactly what you owe them. But they make you guess. If you're right, great. But if you're wrong, oh, you are cooked. Moving on to level 2, behind the bank vault. Now that the government has taken its cut, let's look at what actually happens to that leftover money once you hand it over to a smiling bank cashier. It is time to completely shatter the illusion of a giant steel vault guarded by a fire-breathing dragon. Your money doesn't just sit there collecting dust. Banks operate on something called fractional reserve banking. This means they might keep a tiny 10% fraction of your deposit on hand and then immediately loan out the remaining 90% to someone else who wants to buy, say, a jet ski. The bank is really just acting as a matchmaker between your supply of cash and someone else's demand for it. And they're just trusting that everyone won't ask for their money back on the exact same day. And they do this to make money by charging rent on the money they loan out, which we all know as interest. But there are 2 distinct flavors here. Simple interest is just a flat fee for borrowing, pretty straightforward. But compound interest, that's where every dollar gets clones. And those clones also want rent. This is exactly why a missed payment on a credit card turns a $12 burrito into a $50 regret. But if we flip that around, if you are the one investing, compound interest duplicates your money like an absolute cheat code. All right, level 3, invisible forces and resets. Because listen, even if you save your money perfectly, there are these massive invisible forces constantly threatening to reset your progress. You know when you open a pricey bag of chips, only to find it's literally half air? That feeling of being totally cheated? Well, that's inflation. It's the slow, silent erosion of your money's value over time. Your $5 bill still looks exactly like a $5 bill, but year after year, it buys less gas and way fewer instant noodles. So, the crucial point here is understanding the mechanics behind this. You're probably wondering what actually triggers this silent thief that just eats away at your purchasing power. Well, it usually boils down to 3 things. First, too much money chasing too few goods. Think like 2,000 people wanting to buy the exact same TV. Second, supply chain hiccups that just make producing things way more expensive. And third, honestly, just the public expectation of rising prices. If people think things are going to cost more tomorrow, they rush out and buy more today, which makes it a self-fulfilling prophecy. When this spikes, governments fight back by raising interest rates to cool down all our spending. But here's the catch. If they cool things down too much, we hit a recession. Officially, a recession is when the economy decreases for at least 6 months. It's basically a system reset. One day, the economic boom party is raging, and the next, the lights flicker, reality hits, and the DJ starts playing sad lo-fi beats while corporate downsizing begins. These really painful resets can be triggered by those high interest rates we just talked about, global crises like a pandemic, or maybe a rogue container ship getting stuck, or honestly, just the natural boom and bust cycle doing its thing. But remember, they aren't forever. Eventually, spending always returns, businesses rebuild, and the economic scars heal up. Which brings us to level 4, mastering the trust algorithm. Let's look at the actual scoreboard of adulthood and see how the financial system judges you. We're talking about your credit score. It's this shadowy algorithm that is entirely about trust, not wealth. Lenders just want to know, if I give this person money, are they actually going to pay me back? This formula calculates whether you get a house or a soul-crushing 27% interest rate on a TV, and it's based largely on your history of paying on time, how much of your available credit you use, how long you've had it, and how often you're asking for new credit. As you can see illustrated here, you really want to stay out of that walking red flag zone on the left. If you're over 750, you are sparkling with adult credibility. Think of your score almost like a pet dog. If you totally ignore it, it's going to ruin your life. But if you take care of it, feed it with on-time payments, it might just help you buy a house one day. And here is the real kicker. You can have absolutely zero debt and still have a trash score if you don't have a history. You literally have to play the game to get the score. And finally, level 5, time, the ultimate asset. For our final level, we're going to unlock the ultimate weapons you need to actually beat this game and secure your future. First, we've got to recognize a totally mind-bending truth. Money is a social construct based entirely on trust. The only real difference between a crisp $100 bill and a literal stick you find out in the woods is that society collectively agrees the dollar has value. Understanding this whole concept of perceived value is exactly how Steve Jobs became phenomenally wealthy. He created massive value with the iPhone, and millions of people happily traded their dollars for it. Wealth is really just a reflection of the value you provide. But to protect the value you earn from that silent thief called inflation, you have to stop trading your time directly for money. You need to start trading money for more money through investment vehicles. You could buy stocks, which are just tiny slices of real companies. You can buy bonds, which are loans you make to governments or corporations. You can buy funds, which bundle those things together to lower your risk. Or you can get into real estate. The goal is to make your money do the heavy lifting for you. I know a lot of people are terrified of the stock market constantly going up and down. But investing isn't about getting lucky with a lottery ticket. It's about being early, being diversified, and most importantly, being patient. As this perfectly points out, the real danger is doing absolutely nothing, keeping your cash stuffed in a shoebox and letting inflation slowly rob you of your future. Because here is the absolute truth. There is no greater force in wealth building than time. Wealth is not built in days, folks. It is built in decades. When you leave your money alone, compound interest works its absolute magic. It grows a little slowly at first around year 10, but then it accelerates wildly by year 20. And by year 30, you're looking at absolute 7-figure potential. Time is the one asset that almost everyone starts with, and without a doubt, it's the most powerful tool you have. This right here is exactly how ordinary people with totally modest paychecks end up retiring as millionaires. They didn't find some secret loophole, they didn't beat the system, they simply learned the rules of the system and they used them. A little money, invested consistently, given enough time, undeniably becomes a lot. So there you have it. You are now fully equipped with the cheat codes to the modern financial system. You see the invisible forces, you understand the trust algorithms, and you know the incredible power of time. The rules are laid out right in front of you. So the only question left to ask is, what's your next move going to be to rig the game back in your favor?